Hey, everybody, hope you all are doing well, and welcome back to Michael's Matters. Now, as it become more and more common, I, of course, am Michael. And this week, Social Security came out with a proposed change to how benefits are calculated that could help some of the lowest income Social Security recipients in our country. So it focuses on folks who have Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. And as we get through the end of this week, the rolling gun battle over Medicare and Social Security in Congress is turning into an all out Royal Rumble as more and more politicians throw their hats into the ring for their potential solutions. This time, some of the more call them liberal senators like Bernie Sanders and Senators Elizabeth Warren, have a solution that focuses primarily on taxing the wealthier people, no surprise, but also giving all Social Security recipients an additional $2,400 a year if it passes. Lastly, we'll talk about why Social Security benefits could actually start dropping as soon as 2032, so sooner than expected. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, you know what, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So today, let's start off with some of the potentially good news for folks who are currently on or could potentially in the near future be receiving Social Security benefits through Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. This program is typically for children or adults who have disabilities or blindness or have low financial resources. Additionally, it is also for some seniors who are over the age of 65 and meet specific financial eligibility. But the crux of this change that was filed with the Federal Registry earlier this month is how they, being Social Security, calculates the receiving of in-kind support and maintenance, also referred to as ISM. As it currently sits, if a person is receiving non-direct monetary support, so it could be things like food or shelter or other types of support by other family members, this support can actually count against the person applying to receive the Social Security benefits. In fact, benefits can be reduced by as much as 1/3 if they are found to have enough additional ISM. According to the Social Security Administration, in January, there were about 7 million Americans who were eligible and receiving Supplemental Security Income Benefits, or SSI. Additionally, that number shows that at that same time, 793,000 SSI beneficiaries across the country were having their benefits reduced as a result of ISM in that same month. Under the new proposed change, in-kind support would be removed from the calculation that would allow essentially 800,000 Americans to receive higher benefits, as much as 1/3 higher. And according to the SSA, the proposed change is being requested because, quote, the complexities of our current food ISM policies may outweigh their utilities, end quote. Perhaps an understatement, if any. Also, it would simplify the rulemaking process and make the decision process less cumbersome to get through as well as to administer. So, there you have it. Not flashy, but it is an example of the government at work trying to make some aspects of life, even in their own little kind of bureaucratic way, better, but still improving the lives of 800,000 Americans who can definitely, undoubtedly use the help. So, again, good on them. Good job, Social Security. Next up, we have the continuing telenovela that has been the debt fight, where the benefits of millions of current seniors, retirees, and Americans who are disabled are being used as a bargaining chip by Republicans to negotiate for government cuts. Where earlier in the week, we had gotten prominent Republicans like former Vice President Mike Pence saying that maybe things like Medicare and Social Security programs should be back on the negotiating table in the debt ceiling fight. This is even after Kevin McCarthy, the Republican speaker earlier this year, he told some Democrats that they were already off the table in the debt negotiation. And now, to not let the Republicans get too much airtime this week, the left wing of the Democratic Party has their standard bearers, like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, who have come out swinging with their solutions. And really, to no one's surprise, it is to eat the rich. I bet they're tasty, huh? No, but really, Senator Sanders did make a pitch to President Biden discussing a payroll tax hike on the wealthy, which really does sound like a Senator Sanders solution to this and pretty much everything. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but it just seems like he is the hammer who sees every problem in the United States as a nail. So those taxes, those are the reason why there is a difference between how much you get on your paycheck versus how much actually goes into your pocket. Right now, though, only up to the first $160,200 of pay are taxed for the purposes of Social Security. There is a total of 12.4% tax that is put on that money, and it's paid half and half by the employer and by the employee. So half is paid by the employee, so 6.2%, and then the other half is paid by the employer. Both those taxes leave any income that's over $160,200 untouched, as in untaxed. But under Senator Sanders' proposal, which is backed up by Senator Elizabeth Warren, they are proposing to bump that taxable number up to $250,000 to now be subject to a payroll tax. So if we do some basic math here, if there's an additional $89,800 in income that is taxed, and the 12.4%, do some calculating. That means an additional $11,160 in tax revenue per high income earning person in the country. So if we look at how many people that would affect, about 18.69 million more Americans. And if we're doing the most basic of math here, there is no doubt that by doing this, it is going to raise a good chunk of change. Now, with the additional money they propose, that it will extend the lifetime of Social Security program by 70 years, at least according to their calculations, and also have enough cash to bump Social Security benefits by $200 a month or additional $2,400 a year for all Social Security recipients. Now, this is something that could definitely be helpful, especially to many of those seniors and retirees and older Americans who are already right now losing the fight against the rising cost of inflation and things like rent, even with that 8.6% COLA that they got this year. Lastly today, let's talk a little bit more about how Social Security got into this situation, because when it was started in the mid 20th century, there were quite a few assumptions that were made that sort of doomed the program from the start. These fundamental assumptions about the American population have really been the heart of today's problems with the program, and could lead to the point where by 2035, Social Security will no longer be able to pay out what is owed and what was promised to American retirees. The real quick and dirty of the program is twofold. First is that when Social Security was designed, it was made based off two assumptions. First is that people would eat hard-boiled steak, smoke cigarettes, have 3 martini lunches every single day, and die at the ripe old age of 50 years old. So basically, they assume that Americans would die much younger than they actually are right now. So people are living longer and still hitting higher and higher ages, and essentially causing the program, that's Social Security, to pay out longer than they ever expected or planned to do so. So that is one. Now, the second major assumption that has kind of gone off the rails is that we, as Americans, would continue to reproduce like rabbits. My mother was the youngest of 6, so I'm not saying my grandmother should have any less, but families like that, they just don't really happen anymore. But it was a calculation that people would continue to have big families, and the additional children would always be working enough to cover those who are retired or unable to work. When Social Security started, there was nearly a 5-to-1 worker to retirees ratio. But now it's getting down to a 3-to-1 ratio, and that number is continuing to drop as we have less and less workers, and we don't have either children being born to replace them or immigration coming in to replace them. Needless to say, is not a sustainable ratio. I mean, it's not even enough people to get into the carpool lane in some parts of the Bay Area. There are some other issues, like the cost of healthcare has gone up, the cost of living has gone up, inflation and the devaluation of the dollar, but all these fall very far second and third and fourth and fifth to the fact that we are living longer and we're making less babies. And really, all the tax hikes in the world are not going to be able to counteract these problems without fixing the underlying issues. So overall, as the Brits would say, that Social Security is in quite the sticky wicket. It's kind of damned if you do and kind of damned if you don't. And given our current political environment, it would be essentially political suicide to do the hard and dirty work of reforming the system. So it's a lose-lose, and there isn't really any incentive to do it. I think that what Senator Sanders and Senator Warren are doing is, though, a step in the right direction. It is a Band-Aid over, a serious wound. And taxes are the price that we pay for living in a social society, as the cliche goes. But these types of changes are just going to be stopgaps at best. They are definitely not fixes, and in the not-so-distant future would leave us in the same situations that we are in now. Now, I don't know what the solution is. But maybe the solution has to do with ChatGPT or robots. All right, so that's it for today's Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it interesting, if you found it helpful, or hey, if you at least found it useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And that way you can get updates when our newest and most informative videos become available. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourself, take care of others, have a happy, healthy